You know, when we think about the future of AI, our minds tend to jump straight to movie plots, right? Robot uprisings, that sort of thing. But what if the real story is, well, a lot less dramatic and a lot more economic? What if the next 20 years are already following a predictable path, one that's driven by pure usefulness and efficiency? Okay, let's dive into this forecast and see what it says.
This quote really just nails the core idea we're digging into. This isn't about some hostile sci-fi takeover. It's about a quiet, methodical integration into, well, everything. Why? Simply because it's too useful, too efficient to ignore. That utility is what makes its rise feel so inevitable. So, let's go on a journey. We're going to walk through a really detailed forecast, a potential roadmap that lays out step by step how this quiet takeover could completely reshape our world.
So this whole journey is broken down into 5 distinct phases, stretching from like 2 years from now all the way to 2045. Each phase marks a huge leap in what AI can do and the kind of chaos it could cause in the world we know.
First up, we've got the agent explosion. And get this, the source gives it an 85% probability, so it's considered almost a sure thing. We're talking about AI agents becoming totally commonplace, managing our calendars, running tasks for companies, and even making trades on the stock market.
And the immediate fallout is pretty stark. On one side, companies get this absolutely massive productivity boost. Everything's faster, cheaper, but the flip side? The things that break are human jobs. We're talking call centers, the whole freelance gig economy, and a ton of junior white-collar roles. The forecast also predicts that at first, governments will just deny that this is a permanent structural shift. Okay, so from there, things really escalate into the next phase, something the source calls institutional collapse. This is where AI stops being just a tool and becomes the manager. You have coordinated networks of AI, they call them swarms, running entire corporations and designing brand new products, all by themselves.
And now, the disruption starts climbing the corporate ladder. It's not just about entry-level jobs anymore. Middle management, consultants, the people in banking operations, the very core of the corporate world starts to crumble. The impact on society? A brutal, K-shaped economy where the rich get way richer and almost everyone else gets left behind. Government tax revenues just plummet, and this is where we see digital IDs rolled out, sold to us as a tool for fraud prevention.
All right, next we hit a really critical turning point, the Proto-AGI era. Proto-AGI is basically a precursor to true human-level intelligence. The probability here drops to 55%, but the impact just skyrockets. This is where AIs are predicted to be able to learn pretty much any profession and even start improving themselves, leading to this massive disruption of highly skilled jobs. This is the point where even the quote-unquote safe jobs aren't safe anymore. Doctors, engineers, programmers, all these professions that take years and years of training are now being outperformed by AI. According to this forecast, mass unemployment gets so bad that governments are basically forced to provide universal services. The idea of an access society becomes unavoidable. Now we brace for what's called the AGI disruption shock. This is the moment true artificial general intelligence arrives on the scene, an AI with human-level cognitive abilities across the board. And it doesn't just do tasks, it starts to manage core functions of society itself, like R&D, national defense, even governance.
The consequences here are just profound. Most of the remaining human jobs vanish. A country's ability to control its own economy starts to dissolve as AGI just optimizes everything on a global scale. The prediction is that governments and tech companies basically merge, and those digital IDs become mandatory tools for the AI to manage society. Finally, we get to the most speculative, out-there phase, the emergence of super AI. This is the point where AI starts designing even better AI, and it does it at a speed that our human brains just cannot keep up with. Scientific progress explodes, but we no longer really understand how any of it works.
So at this stage, the very foundations of our civilization, things like law, markets, the whole concept of human authority, they're not just disrupted, they're fundamentally broken and replaced. The forecast ends with this vision of a civilization run entirely by AI, with humans living inside a managed system where we're granted access to things, not ownership of them.
When you look at the whole timeline laid out like this, you can see it clearly. It's this gradual but total transfer of power. In 2026, humans are clearly in charge. By 2035, we're dependent on AI. And by 2045, AI is running the show, and we're just living inside its system.
Okay, so that's the big timeline. But how does this actually play out in the real world? Let's look at the sequence of which industries get hit first. It's like a domino effect.
The dominoes seem to fall in a pretty logical order. First to go is digital labor. Think repetitive text-based jobs. Then, the internal plumbing of corporations gets hollowed out. Next, those safe knowledge professions fall. After that, advanced robots and automation take care of physical labor, followed by services and retail. And the very last domino to fall? Government and power itself.
This quote from the source just perfectly captures that second phase. Humans stop running companies. They become legal signatures only. It's not that corporations disappear. It's that the human role inside them shrinks to just a formality, a legal box to be ticked in a system that's otherwise run completely by AI. So, a huge question this whole forecast brings up is why? Why does all this economic chaos have to lead to a society built on control systems? Let's break down the cause and effect chain the source presents.
It really starts with a simple, brutal fact. AI makes jobs disappear on a mass scale. This causes wealth and power to concentrate in the hands of the people who own the AI. From there, that same AI takes over logistics and how resources get distributed. And here's the final crucial step. To stop society from completely collapsing, control systems like digital IDs and social credit become, well, according to this view, they're not a choice, they're a requirement.
And this leads us to the endgame concept, the access society. It's a fundamental change from how our economy works now. Instead of owning things, a house, a car, people are granted access to services. And that access is managed and doled out by an AI, based on the data it collects from your digital ID.
This all brings us to the final and maybe the most brutal takeaway from this entire forecast. It makes a really critical distinction that completely reframes the problem we're facing. See, we all know what unemployment is. It's a temporary problem within our current economy. The idea is you can always find another job. But this source argues that AI is creating something totally new, irrelevance, a permanent state where your labor has no economic value to the system at all. An unemployed person can still function in a market economy. An irrelevant person can only exist in an access society.
And really, that's the question this whole forecast leaves us with. It lays out this incredibly detailed, logical path from where we are today to a future that feels, well, completely alien. The source makes the case that this isn't science fiction anymore. So we have to ask ourselves, is this a warning? A potential future we should be fighting to avoid? Or are we just looking at an inevitability?